connecting with us this morning for this 90-day goal setting call. I promise I won't keep you long today, but we wanted to take a second and dive in here with the Dreammakers Network, and I know that we've been hosting our 90-day goal setting challenge over the past really since Memorial Day, and this was an opportunity for us to kind of jump in and do a catch-up call and check in on each other. And for so many reasons, it's important for us to stay connected as we're going through and working on our 90-day goal setting challenge. And so I want to welcome those who are on for the first time to the Dream Makers Network. And this call, this isn't technically a mastermind call, as we have our mastermind call once a month. But this is a check-in call for our 90-day goal setting challenge. So welcome. If you're on for the first time, we appreciate you so much for your willingness to wake up this morning, willingness to wake up and join us and dial in. We truly do appreciate your energy and your intentionality in joining us for this call. And for those of you who have been around for a while or have been participating in this personal development network over the years, couldn't be more excited and thankful for your time, support, interest, your leadership over the years and participating in this network. It is just truly, on a personal level, definitely a blessing to my life, your support. And I'll tell you, it's and others, and the influence and just having a network of folks who have made a commitment to personal development is something more than I can really express. Because when you have those down moments, those tough times, you have a network, you have folks you can reach out to. And even when you're planning for success and you're really preparing for something that is really meaningful to your heart and something that you really want to see come to life, and you have a community of folks who also want to see that happen for you, because one thing we know, when you hang around people who are doing greatness will soon follow you. It'll definitely be a part of your activities in your life. And so it's good to be able to spend time and share and connect and help folks build great things, and so they can be supportive with you as well. And so thank you for joining us this morning. I promise not to keep you long today, but we wanted to really dive in as we've been going through our 90-day goal setting challenge over the past over about a month and a half now, since Memorial Day, as we start from Memorial Day to Labor Day, really focusing in on our goals, identifying what it is that we want to accomplish this summer and over the next 90 days. What is it that really, it's been sitting on the shelf for you in your mind? Things that you wanted to really put to work, things that you want to see come to life, whether it be with your health, whether it be with your relationships, whether it be with your business, whether it be with your ministry, whatever it is. Things that are truly important to you, that you are willing to make a decision to pursue and see it come to life. And we have to kind of organize time for that, if you will. I mean, the truth is, you have to do it, because if you don't, it will just stay something that has been on your mind. It'll always just be something in your own personal space, something that you think about. You haven't communicated it with anyone else. And just understanding the stages it takes to go from nothing to something, to go from an idea to reality. And we, every year over the past 10 years, I guess 9 years in this case, we have done a 90-day goal setting challenge each summer, and making it something that is personal to you, but is meaningful enough, that's big enough, something that you really believe should happen in your life, something that is more than just kind of a job related goal, something that somebody else said, hey, you should do this, but something that is much more lined up with your unique objective, your unique purpose, something that you believe that that you are here to do. And we want to make sure that your time and your energy is a much more in line with what it is that you personally are here to do. And so you can feel as if that your activities aren't wasted, that your conversations and how you communicate and the energy that you give to others is intentional, and it's not just random stuff, but you actually are living a purpose driven life, and that is something that we care deeply about within this network. If you've never been on a call, or if this is your first time, personal development is the core of this objective of this network, and making sure that you are focused on building out what it is that matters to you, and going through the process of doing that. And so, with this 90-day goal setting challenge, this is something that, it's that time that you can spend to say, how am I going to develop and take what I'm currently focused on to the next level? How do I create a lifestyle, something that just isn't a one-off win? Sometimes we have those, I'm going to go do it, right? And you go and do it, and then it's off your plate. Once you've done it, check that box. I'm not doing that anymore. And we want to make sure that the things that you're focused on are lifestyle related things that could be just truly game changer for the future. Not only your life, but the people who have access to you, the people who see you every day, and when they see your growth and development, they see you getting better. It's just one of those things. When you are finding yourself progressing, when you find when people watch you do things that help add value to your life, when people see your conversation change, when people see you doing the things that make yourself better, it's contagious, man. It is contagious. It's something that folks are like, okay, you know what? I want some of that. What are you drinking? How often are you doing? What is your recipe? And I tell you, man, that's exciting. It's just exciting to be around people who just come with that energy. They bring it to the table. When they show up in the room, they're bringing that energy with them, and you want to be around people like that who can truly add value to your life. And so that is a big part of this 90-day goal setting challenge, is to make sure that we are being very intentional about personal development, what it is that we're here to do and grow. And so, the first month is in the month of June, where we focused on becoming and really identifying what the goal is. What is it? Just making a definition as to, this is what I'm working on. If my goal is to, live a healthier lifestyle, what does that mean? Being able to unpack that and say, is that what you eat, how your activities, what you drink? If that is the case, what is it and why? So the definition of your goal, being able to state it clearly, see what that is, to define what it is your goal is and why. And you have to really ask that why question, because if you say what the goal is, and then you ask the question why, and your why is kind of weak, you're just like, well, I mean, it's kind of a nice thing to do, right? Like, shouldn't we all try to pursue things like this? It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, but is this something that, when you ask that why question, that you literally are at a point where, because I have to do it, and here's why, and they give you a second why, or maybe in a third why, and you get into that place where this goal that you're working on has a deeper objective, has a deeper meaning. If I accomplish this, I could end kind of a generational curse in my family. If I accomplish this, my son, my daughter may see this change in me that could ultimately benefit them. If I accomplish this, I could build a business that could really change the game for my family and really take us into a new financial place. If I accomplish this, we could finally have a ministry that reaches the community in a way that hadn't been reached, like something that's really going to take you into, if you keep talking about it, your throat's going to lump up and your eyes water. Like, that's the kind of why that we want to be able to move with it, to have, when we are unpacking our goal, the goal that we're setting, something that really matters to you, not a nice to have, but something that could truly change the game for you, could change the game for whatever it is that you see in your mind, the people you want to reach. You know, you want to be in that space. And here's the reason why. because we want you to finish the 90-day goal setting challenge. If you pick something that is a nice to have and you start down this road of trying to accomplish something that is, a big deal that's out of your normal comfort zone, you're gonna quit. That's just reality. It's not gonna last. You'll get, you know, I mean, you may not even make 2 weeks, and you'll come up with reasons why this is I'm too busy. I ain't got time. I got a lot of other stuff going on, right? So it can't be weak. It has to be something that truly matters, and you have to be able to have kind of a deeper objective. I had a conversation yesterday with one of my coworkers, and I think I shared with you guys how a big focus of mine is building out this business success services division within our firm, and why, right? And so, we had this conversation, and it was very interesting because, as I'm talking about building out this division, that if we're successful in building out this new division of the firm, we can check the box on all of these other services that we are trying our best to get into that market. We're tax services to investment management to, financial planning to insurance, all these different things, business valuation, like all these one-off things that are important to the firm. But if we build out this division that is completely focused on that, and then you unpack that and go one extra layer, and I started talking about, the importance of helping, minority businesses and Black business owners and veteran-owned businesses and these classifications of companies who don't really have access to capital and all these things. And then peeled it another layer, and I just kept going into my why. So kept peeling. And I was sitting there with the guy. He was like, "Man, I hadn't been excited. I hadn't been excited about work in so long." He was like, "I'm excited, man." He was like, "I'm excited. Like this is why now this is worth it." Because I was looking around. So he was like, but I knew, because for me, this is part of my 90-day goal setting challenge. I'm focused on this every day. I'm reading the stuff I need to read. I'm going deep into it. And I'm like a minister of it now. Like, let's go. Like, this is why we're doing this. And this guy had nuclear. He came in my office yesterday. I hadn't been in the office much this week. He came in with kind of his, I don't know what energy he had when he came in, but when he left, he was like, "Oh man, let's get this going," right? And that's what we want. We want to make sure that what we're working on is not only something you can get fired up about, but when you start sharing it, when you start really talking about, if we get this right, if we get this right, my God, what's going to happen? Like the what's possible. And it's there's nothing better than when you start telling somebody something and you keep peeling that why onion back, like that. Here's why, and here's why, and here's why, and here's why. Oh, it's just so it's so one, it's joyful to do it because you're now being authentic. You're sharing your true self. People can see you. There's no fluff in there. This isn't a sales job. People can tell the difference between when someone's just selling something and they're charismatic, right? And they can kind of work the room, if you will. They can tell the difference between that and when someone is literally giving you who they are. They're sharing their spirit, they're sharing their soul, their heart with you, because this is something that truly matters to them for a reason. And so the objective is, how do you unpack and share your reasons? you know and so I wanted to just talk about quickly about the becoming factor, and how do you create a goal, and why do you create it, and how do you make it clear and plain enough, not only just for when you're sharing it and communicating to other people, but to yourself. you know I mean, when you are, you wake up every morning and you're like, because the thing is, our comfort zone is our comfort zone, and that's just what it is. And we're gonna we get into that rhythm. We found our space, and we do what we do every day. We wake up and we do our rhythm every day. And the question is your rhythm adding value to the ability to accomplish the goal? So is your day-to-day flow, the things that you've identified as your comfort zone, is it adding value to you, or is it helping you get closer to accomplishing the goals that you've set for yourself? And that's really what I wanted to talk about today, particularly as we get in this month of doing, where we're at the place where we have identified the goal, we understand the goal, we have the why. The why makes sense. We're ready to talk about it. We believe in it. We can share with you why this goal is important to us individually. But now we're doing the work. We're in the space of now we're all right. We're working every day. We're doing something to get closer and closer to accomplishing the goal. And it's relative, right? Because everyone has their own unique things that they're focused on. But I really want to talk about this aspect of doing, and what is it that you're doing? What does your day-to-day look like? Has your daily routine changed from before you set this goal? What has changed about your day-to-day that it helps you feel, at least, that you are headed in the right direction? You feel like you're making progress. And how are you measuring progress? When you say my goal, and let's just be kind of playing with it, so my goal is to lose, 20 pounds this month, or my goal is to, replace my meats with veggies. I want to have more veggies on my plate than I do meat. All right. So how was your meal on Monday? What did you eat? What did you eat on Monday? And what did you have meat? What kind of meat? Did you have bread? What kind of bread? Did you have vegetables? What kind of vegetables? What about Tuesday? And what about Wednesday? So you're able to measure progress based on what you're doing every day. And so we have to think about what progress looks like for your goals, and if you feel as if you're headed in the right direction. And if you say, yes, I do know, I'm excited about my goal, I understand why I'm doing this, I do know what it takes to be successful, but but I haven't done it. I did it 2 weeks ago, and I did it, and I thought about doing it yesterday. But I haven't been able to do it. And listen, that's a reality, right? The question is why? What's getting in the way? What's getting in the way of you really making your goals a reality, to be a part, the work to accomplish your goals on a day-to-day basis? Like, what's getting in the way? What is it? And this is a really honest question, because it's either one or two things are happening. Either the goal isn't really big enough. It's not something that you really care that much about. It's kind of a nice to have, but not a this has to happen kind of deal. Or you have things that are going on in your life right now that you've put at a higher priority. And the easy answer is, I'm just too busy. I got work, I got family, I got this, I got that, all these types of things. And my question, when that's the first thing that pops up, well, how is that working for you? How is that working for you relative to your peace of mind? How is that working for you relative to your health? How is that working for you relative to your excitement and your energy, and you feeling as if that you're at least involved in a part of something that's giving you energy? Do you spend most of your day fired up and excited, or do you spend most of your day drained down and nearly depressed? I mean, we just have to be clear. When we think about the things in our mind, does it get us excited? Or when we think about the things that are on our minds, does it give us anxiety? Where are we? This is the measuring stick. We're measuring where we are. How do we feel? What's happening? What is our current reality feel like? What does it look like? Are we being honest with ourselves about this? and just being in a position to, yeah, there's something about honesty and clarity wherever you are, whether you're working on a goal or not, just your current present moment. How are you right now? And if you're excited, why are you excited? What has you excited? Let's talk about that. What's moving you? What's pushing you? What's giving you that big light in your mind that you're moving towards something? Like, what is that? And why is it making you excited? If you're not excited and you feel as if there's kind of no purpose to anything that's going on, you're just kind of in the rat race. You're kind of a robot, if you will, just doing every day, waking up and doing, working, and all that. And if that's not firing you up, then what is it going to take to really unpack what it is, those things that really matter to you, that things that do give you that inspiration. And so we want to be able to at least where we are. I thought it was, there was a couple of reasons why we're doing this call today. One, this would actually, the next couple of calls in our scheduled call, I'll actually be on a train headed to Florida. So we couldn't do that on that particular day. And the other part to it is when we're, in the past, when we do the 90-day goal setting challenge, we have every 2 weeks, and we're able to kind of check in and see, how did it go? What's going on? And so these types of initiatives require a little bit more hands-on. And I tell you, over the past 2 weeks since our last call, I've probably talked to just about everybody, or at least half of the folks who were on the call last week in some type of way, either through social media, email, from the call, or we spent some time. And it's a real thing. Folks are, it's not easy. And I know I'm on here kind of rah-rahing and really trying to get folks focused, but it's not easy to break your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is what it is for a reason. But again, I think that when we start talking about this 90-day goal setting challenge, we want to make sure, if you're going to attempt it, right, it's good to be able to get the information, and you may not be there just yet where you're willing to start it, and you want to be here for just to kind of pick up the information, get some nuggets that'll be helpful to you when you are ready. And there's nothing wrong with that either. That's the fact that you're able to get access to the information and begin and start when you're ready. That's just as golden. That's why these calls are recorded. That's why it's on social media. These are videos that will be here, for a long time, right? So you can jump in when you're ready. But the objective now is to really begin to kind of talk about, for those of you who have started down that road, we want to talk it through. I say, I promise I won't keep you long, but I want to open up the call to anybody who's willing to kind of share where they've been, right, over the past couple of weeks since our last call. We're in the month of being practical, getting into a process of trying to create some repetition and doing the things that will help you to accomplish those goals. I think it is so, as you all know, once we start unpacking it and start talking about these things in some detail, and hearing other people's perspective and their situations, and just their current reality and where they are, that's always helpful. It gives someone else who may not say, I probably won't talk today, because I'm not there. I had some issues or whatever. And then somebody else gets on and talks about their truth and their reality and what's been going on and lack thereof, or whatever the case. It gives that other person to say, okay, you know what? I'm in, because I'm about the same boat as her. So let's take a second. We'll take a second. Let's open up the call now. Anybody who would like to just kind of share the good, bad, just the update as it relates to where you are in your 90-day goal setting challenge, in any progresses, challenges, issues, unexpected things that have just kind of jumped in. Let's talk it through. We'll take a second and we'll open up the call now. And for those of us who are on social media, feel free to share in the comment section where you are, and just we can definitely connect there as well. I'm paying attention. I'm looking. So definitely, we'll open up the call now. Okay. Hey, my brother.
Man, listen, I was hoping.
Yes, sir. How you feeling, man?
I was hoping we were high ball, man. Give me some, give me some shit. Oh, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. So the question was, how's it going? Update. One, okay. Hear that? Okay. That's the doing. That's the doing. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're in it, and you're in the activity of stuff, right? And by stuff, I say, because you're trying to do, because I'm trying to do something that I might not have done before. You're just not sure in it every time. You want it, you can visualize it happening, but every move is just not a comfortable move because it's not something that, comfort comes from not being not knowing, exactly where it is. So, you're uncomfortable because you don't quite know that maybe this isn't the right move, but I gotta make it. So, I'm in that faith mode. Like, all right, I'm gonna try to, let's see, I'm gonna take a step here. All right, okay. Okay, because, nothing has necessarily happened yet, So, I guess to be super bold in your move, is either, admirable or just, ignorant. You're just running through the steps out. Like, here I am, they say that's not bravery, it's not, you're not brave if you're just doing something and there's no fear. You're just stupid.
Got
you don't
it.
know what's about to happen.
Okay. That's a good point.
Or very ignorant, like a little kid or a baby, said you want to be like a baby or a little kid, they just gonna run into the street. Oh no, you're gonna get hit. You know what I'm saying? You have to operate with some caution.
Yeah.
But you're not bold and brave in it because hey, you don't know. So you take a step. Okay. Let's take another step. Oh, okay. And that okay. If you can sustain that okay.
Yeah.
Over a long period of time, usually that's when goals get hit.
That's right.
But you keep moving forward. You just keep moving forward, So when I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, how's it going? Okay, yeah. I don't want to get on here and loud and like, yeah, man. Listen, sometimes you get like a little peek of something. Like, oh yeah. Well, that happened yesterday, so that's that was a win. But that's not the goal unless you hit your goal already, then that was great. But that was just like a win, so you can kind of eat off that win. But once you finish eating the energy off that win, you got to turn back around and take another step forward and some shit that you really don't know. Like, and then you keep taking another step, and then you get so far away. You get so deep into the unknown that you really, into that, like you say, that you're talking about the comfort zone, you get into the uncomfortable zone. You get surrounded by the uncomfortable zone. Then that's when you really know you're on it. Then you really know you're on it because you look back and you don't even recognize what you had just done because you were doing something new anyway. And you have to move forward to life, and you're like you don't know what's really there. So then you got to draw on, that you got to get to that faith mode and just keep taking a step, or you can just stay there and then eventually that becomes comfortable. That area that's not quite where you want to be, but not where you were, it becomes comfortable. You build like a little house around that. And then you live there, you know, but then you realize, you look up, and I'm talking about, you know, personal experience. You look up and you're like, wow, this wasn't quite where I wanted to go. I'm comfortable here now, but this wasn't where I was going. This started as, you know, a journey, you know, to go someplace else. But now we got to take some more steps forward, you know, and get back to get out of that new comfort zone that had just been created.
I gotta stop you real quick. I gotta stop you real quick on this one, because you just said something that is really the thing, especially in the month of doing, and that is to get comfortable in the uncomfortable zone. You know, if we just kind of stop for a second and think about that, you know, you're when you're starting something new, it's out of your comfort zone. And so your mindset has to be great. Like when you get in that uncomfortable zone, that's when you know you're winning, because you're actually doing the work. You're doing something that is outside of your comfort zone. Hopefully, all right, let me say this, hopefully this activity that you're doing that is outside of your comfort zone is in line with accomplishing your goal. Because if you're doing something that's uncomfortable, but it's still not in line with accomplishing your goal, then what progress are we making? Hopefully you'll learn how to do something, and that's cool. But did it move the needle? Did it create progress toward accomplishing your goal? But just from the mindset, like Paz, you remember, like the brother told me, said, "Man, you trying to do a Jedi mind trick on me?" The brother told me that. I don't want to call his name out. The brother said, "Oh, what's that? A Jedi mind trick?" But the mind trick that you have to tell yourself is to get excited when you're in the uncomfortable zone, because you know that's the step toward progress. And so you're excited. So now I'm excited because I know I'm doing something that's leading me in the right direction. And then the next piece is do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. Because at some point, you do it a couple more times, you're going to get comfortable in the uncomfortable zone. That is powerful information, bro. And I just wrote that down. So, all right, back to you. I had to stop. I had to jump out. I had to pull that out real quick.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, that's great. You know, and to have to be, I think we were talking about the last talk, to be the kind of we touched on it almost at the core of it, but you know, to be aware enough to know that to be aware enough that you're in the uncomfortable, that you're in the uncomfortable zone, not the comfort zone, but the uncomfortable zone. And then you're in it, and not to get engulfed by it, you know, is a technique. It's like, okay, this has to be, you know, this has to be difficult. As I'm standing out front of the gym right now, I came out to talk to you, but I was like it's just so easy to talk about gym stuff, right? So you know, when you worked out one time or 2 times or 3 times, that uncomfortable zone might either be the workout, but then there's another part of it. It's the soreness, you know, after. You know, so if you know going in, you're like, hey, I've worked out 3 months. It's gonna be strenuous when I do it. Yes, I'm gonna sweat, but the next day I'm gonna have some muscle pain, aches, and that kind of stuff. But knowing that, really knowing it, not being surprised by it, walking around like, oh man, I just worked out yesterday. I'm so much pain. You should know going in, because you're aware, you're self-aware to know, all right, I'm gonna be hurting for 2 days after this.
Mm-hmm.
I just got to get through it, because you know, if it's Monday, I'll be hurting Tuesday, Wednesday, but then on Thursday or Wednesday, I'm going right back at it.
Yeah.
I have to, because you know, being healthy is part of the goal. But I know that there's going to be pain, so being aware of that, and when you're in the pain, just being like, yeah, this is part of the process is the key, like in achieving goals. But just an example of it. But yeah, and if you don't, you wind up being hurt and saying, oh man, I'm not going back to that again. You might even trick yourself into thinking that it's not working out, it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh man, I'm in pain. Forget that. You know, where you may not physically say that, but your actions will say working out's not for you because you won't return again.
Yeah.
The action is, yeah, I'm not going back. Oh, forget this. I'm too much pain. But if you knew that was part of the process, really willing to be uncomfortable for a little while, then it would be a great thing. And you would continue knowing. So there you go. Uncomfortable versus comfortable. Comfort zone. So as I'm thinking, I guess intelligently, if you just always said, hey, I'm going to go for the uncomfortable thing, probably would move a lot further. Intelligently, I'm going for the uncomfortable thing, and intelligently, with the plan, you probably move a lot further, a lot faster. If that was always the way you went, and I've been working on that. Like I was talking about, asking for help and making those calls, and just getting in the rhythm as I set stuff up. I was like, well, now one of the things that I've been trying to say to myself, as I have tasks to do, like, okay, calls come in, or I got to make the call. I'm like, all right, let's make the hard one first. Let's just get this out the way.
There we go.
When before, sometimes I would use techniques to boost myself up. Like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. All right, this is a tough thing to do, right? This conversation, this call, this task is going to be challenging. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and do something to get my vibration up, to make myself, better, to feel better, so that when I attack this, I'm kind of like, running at it. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So, example, got to make a phone call. All right, simple thing. I got to make a phone call. Well, I'm a little hungry. Let me get a good meal in myself, and I feel better, and then I'll make the phone call. But what happens is procrastination or other things get in the way. You wind up putting the stuff off. So sometimes it works. We say, all right, I'm about to do this. Let me just get my mind right. Quick couple seconds with the Lord and myself. All right, help me out here, both. And then you make it. That's different. But previously when I would stack things to do to kind of trick myself into feeling better so that I would do it, it might be 50-50. Half the time I might do it, half the time I might miss it. But the half the time that I miss it, it may roll over for another, 3-4 days or something, or just wind up under the rug, piled on these other stuff, and it never winds up getting done. It's a long time, and then by that time, it's not even as relevant as it was at the time. Or I gotta work harder to kind of ramp up whatever that opportunity was, because I didn't just attack it immediately. So that's been something that I have been working on. Like, all right, if it seems hard and it comes to me, I'm like, all right, let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. And that's one thing I've been working on, which has been, it's been helpful. I've been getting stuff off my plate, and it's been clearing my mind, and I've been getting some, moving forward. I can't say that anything is like, I don't have like a super jump. Like, I made that call, and then the dude deposited $64 million in my account. So, hey, it worked. Can't say that. But it has been, I have been in the rhythm of doing it. Like, that's why I say, no, okay, we on it.
Well, real quick, before you jump into that, two things that you said that definitely stood out. One, and you probably remember this phrase, is to eat the crust first. And you remember who said that? Brother Halton Buggs. And so to do the difficult stuff first, and when you get it out the way, and it's like, and more so, it's just like when you become comfortable doing the difficult stuff first. And all of this has to go back to if we know what the recipe is to accomplish our goals. That goes back to, who do you listen to? Listen to the people who've done what you were trying to do. And that means you've done some type, you have access to them, you've read their books, you hopefully you have an opportunity to meet these people or whatever, but the roadmap is being laid out. So you're not just going into the unknown with no type of context as to where you should be going. You want to make sure that you at least are doing the right things. It's hard because you read the book, or you had the conversation, what you're getting ready to do is hard, but at least you have the roadmap. So that's the first part, because if you're going at this just on your own merits and it's something you've never done before and it's just the complete unknown, then you really have to ask yourself, where are you going? And how are you going to get there? So
Right.
that part is very just kind of important. The other part, though, that you hit on, you breezed it real quick, but I got to ask the question just based on our conversation on our last call. Is you said here, I heard you, I wrote it down. You said you talked to God. So I want to make sure that I didn't just mishear that. The fact that you said, yeah, I talked to God. Well, wait, the brother just say he talked to God? Like if that's the part of it. So I want to slow down and just unpack that a little bit, make sure that I didn't hear the wrong thing. So so is that what I heard?
Oh yeah, 100%. What I'm trying to do is, I'm working on adjusting. That's why the call. First of all, God bless me with a 2-week call, like I was asking for. Like, we basically need every other week call. So step one, bang, the fact that you sent that text message out yesterday was an answer to one of my goals. So so we're on this thing. Step two, but to answer the question is, yes, I've been, constantly working on going to a high tower before things of importance occur. And for me, that's different. It's definitely a different mode. It's not my typical way of doing stuff. It's not even on. It's a new habit. It's a new habit. It's not even on my radar. Meaning that I wasn't raised in that. I wasn't raised in that way. Like the whole habitual, ritualistic church lifestyle is not. Truck driving by. It's not the way that I was raised. So and I'm not anti to going to God and making a request. Obviously, it's a thing that I'm doing, but it just wasn't a habit. It wasn't something I would do first. It's not a habit.
Yeah.
It's not a habit. It's not. So it's something I have to think about as I'm making moves. But when we had our conversation last time, and to study and figure stuff out, I was like, man, I gotta start utilizing all of my powers, all of my access, all of my powers. So I said, well, you're not calling everybody you should be calling for all this help that you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? So how about we start with calling, calling on the big guy. You know what I'm saying? First, so I make that call like, all right, man. So here's what I'm about to do. And I can't say that I've had again, I talked about it last time. Like, sometimes you imagine that everything is going to feel like Noah. The dude that he's going to come from the clouds and give you instructions. Like, here you go. Listen, Cuban, you got this amount of cubits. You got this amount of stuff. Here's what I want you to do. But God, I don't know. No, shut up and build the ark, and then you can go back and forth and talk with him. And it's not like that. Not for me. I haven't been chosen in that way. But I'm like, all right, let me just go up, make a quick thought, get my mind, ask for the blessing, ask for the help, and then go about it. And that is the thing. So that is the thing. And in doing that, if we even go further, I came to the reconciliation about who, what, where, and God is popped back up. Like, okay, here you go. Here we go again. Now it's getting in the way.
Yeah.
This is where I'm gonna go with it. So you reckon, in a religious construct, you basically have a concept of what God is based on your religion. Follow that religion, right? I mean, you can kind of agree to that. Say, hey, God is this to me. I'm a Hindu. God looks like this. I'm a Muslim. God looks like this. Christian. God looks like this. I'm whatever. This is kind of because you're in that construct. If you don't have a construct, a real construct that you believe in, then you have to reconcile on who and what you think God is, and then apply it, the way it needs to be applied to your life. So in not really having a hard one, you know, like a religious construct. Not really. You know, I studied a lot of stuff. Like I said, I was all through the winter. You know, I went to the New Testament and was like, oh, okay. I mean, the Old Testament. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, they was crazy back then. You know, you got to dig through that stuff. You start reading that stuff again, like, oh, I see. Got it. Yeah. We got to kill everybody in the city. Okay. Open for, you know, open. But what it did was, it made me, you know, eliminate kind of some of those barriers and just try, because you need it. When you need it, you're like, man, forget, you know, it's like water. You say, hey man, what kind of, yeah, man, no, I only drink spring water. Oh really? Yeah, no, I drink Fiji. You're a Fiji water drinker. Yeah, no, yeah. I drink the Walmart brand. You know, I only drink that. Don't touch. No, I'm a Deer Park guy. You know, you can walk around like that. When you need water, and I come to you with this good Baltimore City tap, oh, you're gonna drink it down.
You're gonna drink it down. That's right.
You're gonna drink it down.
That's right.
100%. A gallon of it. Oh yeah, no. You know they put fluoride in it because fluoride affects the pineal gland and it calcifies and all that. No. You're thirsty. You're super thirsty. And if it don't kill you,
that's
you
right.
Need that water.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to reconcile, you know, and that's kind of a, you know, I guess a loose interpretation of how I said, listen, I'm not gonna. We'll figure that out, or you know, we'll come to a visualization and all that kind of stuff within whatever construct, you know, I decide to land on. But that doesn't really mean anything because the activity of talking to God, speaking to God, and getting there is a necessity for me to move forward and to get that connection stronger, which is really the whole goal of, you know, of my life. You know, get that stronger connection. That's it. Because I'm like, if I get the connection right, you know, everything else usually falls into place. So I feel great about that. But there you go, since you brought up that, you know what I'm saying, I didn't want to get into
that's all good.
Technology and all the other things that have been floating around.
No, that's all good. That's all good. I like every day I look at my memories on Facebook. And I think it might have been like 2 years ago, like today or something like that, or this week, I posted on Facebook. And when I looked at the time when I posted, I remember what I was going through at that time. But I posted on Facebook that my number one focus in life is to have a closer relationship with God. Everything else is just a nice to have. That was it. Everything else is just a nice to have. And I remember, was it maybe 2 years ago, and I was going through high anxiety, very uncomfortable physical kind of anxiety, you know, and it was, as you think about 2 years ago, it was, you know, the height of the pandemic, everybody shut in the house, you know, loved ones dying and we can't get to the funerals. I mean, it was just all the things that were normal, that was a part of that normal mental construct was beginning to break down. And, and, you know, I was just like, what is really happening? And my way of addressing, like I wasn't outwardly, you know, addressing fear, but inwardly it was breaking down. And I just, you know, when I got to a point where I couldn't mentally grasp anything, I was just like, all right, this is pure surrender time. This is pure. I need to connect with the Creator on all of this. Because, you know, I used to say, you know, hey God, this is too big for me. That's for you. And you handle that. I'll focus on this other stuff. At that point in time, there was nothing. There was nothing that was going on in my life I felt like I had the ability to handle. And I said, you know what? I need to completely let you handle it all. And that was the beginning of the end of my anxiety. That was the beginning of the end. It was at that point, it was just, okay. And I just started completely giving up my brain concept of figuring stuff out. You know, it's like, oh, I got to figure this out. Let me get my pen and pad and strategize on this and whoop de whoop and up. No, it was done. That for that period of time, it was complete. God, what you want me to do? Whatever you want, that's what I'm gonna do. And slowly but surely, those anxieties, worries, and fears, they all just went away. And and that's been the move ever since. So, but you know, so yeah, so but I that's but again though, and from a simplistic perspective, because I grew up in a religious construct, you know, so I grew up in an environment that was where there was a lot of repetition of that. But even with all of that, from a simplistic relationship, I just like to look at it as, well, talk to your creator. Your creator knows what you're supposed to be doing. If not, why was I created? You know, I mean, you know, let's not get out, you know, you can get way deep in all the different scriptures and all that, but why was I created? You know, I see why they're here and look like they're doing this stuff. And I look at him over there and look like he got his stuff going. But what about me? Why was I created? And why do you make me get excited about certain things? And why do I get mad about certain stuff that other people don't get mad about? Other people don't get excited about that. Why am I the one who has to get excited about that? What is it about me that makes me want to do this? You know, and just beginning to ask those honest, personal questions about, why am I this way? You know, why do I think this way? Why does my heart feel this way about that thing? And it's like, okay, well, God is like, okay, you asking the right questions, go pursue it and find out. You know, in all these areas that we get, like, you know, why am I mad about this and nobody else is mad? Why am I happy and nobody else is happy about this? Go pursue it and find out. Keep digging, and ask me again. Keep digging and ask me again. Keep digging and ask me again. And before you know it, I'm like, whoa, okay. So that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Got it. Okay, let's go. Let's go. And then again, going back to that whole objective, and then you're setting goals because you feel like you're onto something. It's like, wait a second. So if I get excited about this, and I've been getting excited about stuff like this for years, but I just never knew really why. I just thought it was kind of a one-off thing, or every now and again something happens and I'm always fired up, or this thing always gets me so upset. Why? Why am I emotional about these things? Let's keep going. And the next thing you know, you start setting goals around that. And before you know it, you're literally knee deep in your purpose. And you're looking around like, this is definitely my purpose. It's no question. It's like, you know it's your purpose. The people looking around at you know it's your purpose. They're like, yeah, boy, that's what you're supposed to be doing. You know, you the one. So yeah. I mean, I think it's just so worth it. It's just worth having conversations with your creator to ask those specific, like, personal questions about yourself. Like, why am I always ticking this way about this? Why am I fired up about that? Why am I upset about this? Why do I have passion for that? You know, and follow the clues. You know, and so especially when we're in this time of pursuing like specific goals, you know. And I was talking to another someone who was on the call recently, and we got together for lunch. and I was telling, I was like, you know, it's at a point in my life where, you know, I know when God's getting my attention. You know, if I'm in a situation, next thing you know, my eyes will start to dry up. Like, you know how your eyes are lubricated, and next thing you know, you start feeling, I'm like blinking, and I'm like, what's going on? And like clockwork, I'm in a situation I don't need to be in. I'm meeting with somebody I don't need to be talking to. I'm going down a road. I'm going down a road that is leading nowhere fast. Stop the brakes, pull back, because I'm headed down the wrong way. It's never felt. It's never failed. It's just that's what happens. My eyes will start drying up, and I'm just like, okay, okay, you got me. You got my attention. You know, and it's different for other people, but that's how it happens to me. And we kind of just have to know that relationship and attempting to learn more about the relationship, so, and when we're doing these goal setting is the best place to tap into time with your creator, because you want to at least make sure that it's something that matters to your growth and development. I look at, every day you hear about somebody else who's passed away, and you have these conversations with folks, who are grieving and going through. And the first thing I always want to talk about is that person's life, about their life, like that, what do they do while spending, how do they spend their time? When we're here, we have time. How are we spending that time? What are we actually doing every day while we're here? You know, and and then when you hear about people grieving over somebody, why are you grieving? Like, what exactly is it about that person that is making you grieve, that is making you feel this way because that person's no longer here? What did that person do and say, and what was it? You know, and to be able to have that kind of conversation, then now we're focused on the life and not the death. We're focused on, that those impressions, the love that was experienced and why it became love. How it went from an occurrence of a meeting, a first time being introduced to somebody. What happened between that first time, whether it was at birth, or was it at some point in your life you were introduced to someone, you met them? What happened between that first occurrence to you actually, fell in love, or just had this such energy for someone that when they passed away, you're grieving over here? Like, what was it? And so I bring that up because it's like when we have these goals that we're working on, the question is, is this time being well spent? Are we doing things that actually matters to anybody? Is it just something that matters to you, or is it going to affect someone else's reality? And just being able to, and does that even matter to you? And so it's worth being able to fully unpack the things that we're doing and the time that we're spending, because again, we have this kind of window of time that we're in. And the bigger question, at least from my perspective, is this time valuable? Are the things that I'm doing valuable to anybody else other than me and my mind? Me and my brain. And that's a big part of this whole, at least on me on a personal level, these goals and these initiatives, is to say, yeah, if we fix it, if this thing works, right, if this goal becomes life, folks are going to really feel this. They're going to benefit from this, and it will be something that will be of benefit to them long after I've passed away. So that is, so for me, when I'm thinking about goals, I'm trying to dig in a way that can still have ripples, for generations. And so, but that's the stuff that'll get me fired up, and I can have this really big why to push me to say, boy, you better get up and do that. Get up and do it. Get up and do it. Get up and do it. Because it's bigger than me. So that's just kind of an example of how I'm approaching it. These goals, and it's worth the thought to say, how do you feel about that? When you're looking at the goals that are in front of you, do you feel like it's big enough in a way? And then it's also good to really try to understand what really matters to you. What really matters, because just because I say something should matter, and I'm sitting here, going on and preaching about what matters to me, but there's no, that shouldn't, I can't act like that is a big deal for other people. Other people, that's nice that you care about that. So that's not my objective, right? But yeah. So that's my thoughts on that, just trying to keep staying in line and really being able to make the work that we're doing and these goal setting challenges, really, really meaningful and worth something to you, not to me and not to other folks, but making it specific to what matters to you. So I think you had something else pass before I jumped in and threw that in there.
I mean, you laid out so much. One thing I was thinking that I did think was funny as you wrapped up. It came back, but I'll give you two. One is that statement that you made, and I know I fell into this category also. In our friendship and just being around where you come with the, oh man, listen, I care about the city, man. I want to be a philanthropic, just force of this and that, and then you hear all that stuff, you're like, man, damn. I just wanted to make, $55,000 a month, you know what I'm saying, and move to and move to this location. But when you hit on it, you're like, wow, that it is about you. Those goals are about you, and it's one thing that I'm 100% sure of as far as we talk going back to God. God places what needs to be, your path is your own path. And getting caught up. Sometimes you can assist in other people's stuff, but what we're talking about as far as goal set is for you to make sure that you're on the path of exactly what you want. Where I say, hey, I may want X number of dollars or this kind of thing. Somebody else may say, now I just want to be able to, walk up the stairs without getting winded.
Yeah.
If I could just walk up these stairs without being winded, I would be that would be step one. You know what I'm saying? And that's my goal, or whatever. Somebody may say, hey, I just want to add, or I just want to take a trip. And if I could just get away, the way I want to take a trip, really just feel free, or and see the ocean or whatever, or see the mountains, or things that are very basic to you but are important to you, and you feel like add value to your life. Is really what the whole goal setting thing is about. Now, it could be, we do want to do big things. We want to maximize our potential, but it doesn't have to happen in 90 days. This first 90 days could just be, the beginning.
Yeah, the kickstart.
It should be the beginning of where you want to go. And if we haven't been setting and achieving goals, or if we haven't been setting and achieving goals on a regular basis, or hitting targets on a regular basis, it's definitely good for the 90 days to get something good that you can achieve and just stair step and just begin to get those wins. You hear people talk about get those early wins. I want early wins. In boxing they say they give you the easier fights. That way you can build up the confidence of the boxer. And work out skills and kind of stuff, and then we'll put you in the championship. Because you got some wins, you got some confidence, but you also have some chances to work out your technique. So that when you do go to the title fight, you can pull those things out of your bag, and because that's going to be the hard fight. So it may not be to start the news next. I'm gonna have the UNCF, bill. Yeah. I'm gonna give away more money to Negro, in August than they have in 100, in 84 years. Hey, man. How about you start a small scholarship fund for you?
That's right.
That needs some money.
That's exactly right.
Do that.
That's exactly right.
Build towards that. I'm just, but in those things, and then from hearing other people's stuff, and but it's, you can get not off track, but you may look at your goal and say, wow, my goal's not. No. Like D said, if you talk to God and you sat down and you were like, yeah, hey, all right, what you want me to do? What gets me excited? That was we should start with that. I don't know if we really emphasize that, but if you wrote something down, write that one down. That was good. What gets me excited? Start feeling it out and then just start going towards that. Because finding that before you know it, you could really be in your passion. And the way you were like, man, people look at you and say, hey, man, you was meant for this.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Meant for this. I was meant for this. Yeah, you know what I was.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you figure it out? I just started, what excited me and going there. And I heard one other thing. A guy was like, there's a comedian, stand-up comedian, was saying that he was looking for comedy routines, and he said that something you think about writing comedy is it wasn't just a stand-up comedian. I take that back. It was Dave Chappelle. I don't want to say, oh yeah, it was random stand-up comedian. No, one of the greatest stand-up comedians of our era, right?
Yeah.
And here's what he was doing. He was coaching my man. Well, he was coaching Will Smith on doing a stand-up thing. As he was doing this, Will was doing this whole "I'm attacking my fears" thing. So anyway, he said to him, like, look, you want to be relatable, but he also said that when stand-up comedians have trouble writing stuff, he tells them, write about things that make you angry.
Mm-hmm.
Or things that interest you. Not just things that you think are funny. So that's where people go wrong a lot of the time. You want to be funny. No, write things that make you angry. And usually, when you start talking about things that make you angry and going back to that emotion, what is emotion? Emotion is, God talking to you, telling you things, then you will begin to find the funny things about it. Start with, what makes you angry and what gets you stirred up. You work with that, and as I was listening to him describe it, obviously I didn't describe it as well as he did, but as I was thinking about it and reminiscing on his comedy, I was like, wow, that's exactly what he does. Think about his comedy and what he does and all that. Wow, he talks about stuff to make him angry, and then he extends it and makes it interesting.
Yeah.
But that's the same way we can handle roles. You work with the things that you think go with you that excite you, and then you just extend them into an interesting, life to your life. So that was good when you said that. But I've digressed. The thing I was gonna say before we went into that was the thing about the concepts that I've been, because as we in the goal set things, I go deep into the book to make sure that I'm right.
Yeah.
Keep working, right, to get some energy. So I ran back into my the paradigms, right, and it's goals for setting goals on the other side. So here's what happened. When I first started, not this goal setting down, but I think it was another one, or one I had made up for myself. As soon as I went to really go hard, stuff just started to fall apart. Like random stuff just started happening. Things started happening. I think that might have been the time when my leg went out on me for no reason. I still haven't figured out what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't injure it. I just had some inflammation in my leg and I couldn't run. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was just crazy. I was like, why would this happen? Like I didn't pull, strain, push anything. It just flamed up. Stopped me from running. So the thought is that there's this ball of paradigm is just like a ball of habits that run us, right? And 50% of what we do, sometimes they say more than that, is habit. It's habitual, right? So let's just say 50. So 50% of everything you do is on autopilot. You don't think about it, it just happens, right? So a paradigm is something that we put together that will help us to run stuff on autopilot, because that's what we want to do. Our brain wants to focus on very small things that'll get us to the next point, but it doesn't want to focus on everything that happens. Even if we take something like walking, hey, I'm going to get up and walk. Yeah, you thought it, but you didn't think, how your toe muscle works, how that's going to work through your foot, and how your foot is going to go. All these things happening automatically, even though you made the decision to walk. Like, all right, I'm walking, but, in your arms, in your heart, all this stuff happens, right? So that's kind of the way paradigms work, right? So what happens is, because we've been creating this multitude of habits of stuff that's sitting there, it also fights back against it, right? It also fights against it. So if you do something and make a big goal that's going to be contrary to your paradigm, it rears up. It's like, whoa. We don't do that. We do not do that.
Yeah.
We do this. This is what we do. Why is this what we do? Because this is what we programmed ourselves to do. And we will fight and claw. This is not just we, but it's inside you, meaning that it's actually you fighting yourself. And that is that voice inside your head that's saying, no. We don't do that. You can call it what you want to call it. We can go back to our theological, conversation. But the bottom line is, this is what happens. Meaning there's a ball of habit that, and if you're going anti those habits, you get jammed up, or it tries to fight you. And the why, you have to have a huge why, because you're going to have to constantly fight. The only thing that really stops this thing is repetition. That's why repetition works so well. Because you say it over and over and over and over. Eventually, your subconscious mind will take you, and it will rearrange the paradigm to fit the new paradigm that you programmed into your brain, to your body to work. So this is the same thing with goals. Because typically, if we're taking a big goal, we're going to have to push some of the paradigms out. Depending on how big the goal is, depends on how big the paradigm is, and then that depends on the amount of repetition and the amount of passion you have to apply to it to fight that big ball of energy. And a lot of the stuff is good stuff that we do, that we set up. But some of the stuff, if we're trying to get there and goal, we may be going through some of that bad stuff that needed to be cleared out, but it's just repetition, habit, diet and all that kind of stuff. Such an easy example of, we've been eating this way for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. When you introduce something new, paradigm is like, no, we're going to do it once, but you're going to do this forever? No, I don't think so. You can do it once, you can maybe do it twice, but then we're going to swing back over to these burgers and the pizza and get right. We're going to keep drinking the soda. So that paradigm is so strong. So like, knowing that exists, and then knowing that the two ways to fight it are the why, the way you described it, and the repetition. And combining both of those with the repetition and the why is really the month that we're in now with the doing. It's being able to do over and over and over again. And eventually, it'll crack, it'll pop, or it'll change. And you have to prove to yourself, through repetition and a strong why. You're basically proving to yourself and your paradigm that this thing is worth becoming on autopilot.
Yeah.
Because once something goes on autopilot, it's so important. So it's not just going to give you autopilot for your whim. You have to really say, hey, this is me now. This is me. This is us. This is what we do. Constantly doing it over and over until you kind of bust into that paradigm. So I was listening to that a couple of days ago, and I was like, here we go. That might be what's rearing up. And I said that about the hip, my hip, and other things happening is that might be some ways that your paradigm is trying to stop you from doing stuff. Yeah. So if I'm trying to do something else, I had a goal here. Paradigm was like, he's going to start doing this. Well, we know what he likes. We like to run. We're going to throw the whole thing off. Yeah. Inflammation. And the devil. There you go. It all goes together. If it's a bad habit, it's the devil. If it's a good habit, it's God. It's God's paradigm. You don't want to throw off God's paradigm. Like, I just run around and started killing people. Hey, that's enough. That's God's paradigm is not to kill people. Yeah. Devil's paradigm might be to do other things. You know what I'm saying? And they're programmed in. So that's what I wanted to get off. What I was thinking about trying to break those things. I think when you were talking about the early part of the why, it just made me think about that. And I had the Greek this week. So there you go.
Yeah, and I think that, especially when you start talking about paradigm shifts, it makes a lot of sense, especially as you get into the having aspect. Like you spend time doing, you're now creating a new habit, if you will. And then your subconscious is trying to understand that new habit that's now being introduced. It's like, okay, what are we supposed to do with this? Like, I see you keep doing this every day and you're doing this thing over and over. It's different from what we normally accepted from you. But where are we going with this? Is this a new thing that our subconscious should just digest, or should it fight back? And it's interesting how we go through, if our subconscious is a welcoming subconscious, or if it's a fight back kind of subconscious. And a lot of that has to do with our, foundation, if you will. When we were, early on, were we more susceptible to accept things into our life, new things into our life, or did we reject? And where did we learn that? And to be able to, understand who we are from a foundation perspective, kind of that first 20 years of our life, and the information and the behaviors and the stuff that we learned and more so saw and experienced in those first 20 years, really represents kind of the personality of our subconscious mind, and which helps to kind of identify how we'll be able to accept information. Is it difficult to get into kind of a repetitious activity to convince your subconscious that this is something we should make a habit? And are we headed toward a paradigm shift where those former things are gone? We don't do that anymore. This is a new shift that we've adopted, and it's really worth thinking this kind of thing, really assessing it, if you will, right now as you're going through this process of trying to create a new habit that is lined up with what you want to see happen for your life, and assess how you feel, even mentally, how you feel about this, because it's one thing to identify how you feel physically relative to your new objectives and these new goals that you're bringing to and these new activities that you're bringing to your life. But from a mental and even in some cases a spiritual perspective, how do you feel? What's happening now that you're doing this new thing on a daily basis? Are you feeling energized? Are you feeling clarity of thought? Do you have clarity of thought? Spiritually, do you feel like this is something that's adding value to your overall meaning, if you will? Or is there conflict that's happening internally because of this new activity? And it's so important to assess that, because the one thing I wanted to talk about as it relates to building a system that you really feel is this is the direction, but you actually in a place where you're just doing the same thing over and over again. So part of this whole process that I'm going through with building out this new division within the firm, I have a business valuation coach that I meet with once a week, and actually have a couple times a week with the different groups, and it's really interesting. And we had a chance, but we also get a chance every week, actually almost every day, to speak to kind of like the greats, those who are doing really well in this system and in building out businesses that are doing this kind of work. And the one running theme that all of them share, the ones who are really successful, doing really well, is that they've figured out a recipe that they just do over and over again. And their business model is simplistic because of that. It's just something that's happening. They're doing it every day. 1, 2, 3. This is my market. This is my process. This is what we're going to do going forward. Here's my market. Here's my process. This is what you should expect to happen. And just sticking to that recipe. And we have to understand and be in search of what our recipe is in the things that we're working on, the things that matter. What is our system? How do you systematize a process to accomplish goals? What are the 1, 2, 3 things that you're doing? It's not like this crazy, I got to do this and I got to do that, and it's that over there and that's over there and that's over there. Can you bring it into a 1, 2, 3, kind of process that if you do this first, boom, you do this second, boom, you do this third, and it's in your brain. And the good thing about it is, that these steps are working toward the accomplishment of your goal. And that's the part that I want to make sure that we're beginning to think about, to be able to create a system that it makes sense to us. It's not complex. It's not confusing. When you share it with somebody else, say, man, so what are you doing? You say, you know what? Actually, be honest with you, this is what I'm doing. This, that, and the other. 1, 2, 3. I had this conversation yesterday with the same guy I was telling you about in my office. He's like, well, man, so what's going on? Like, how's this working? Like, who's doing this and who's doing that? And who's doing that? I'll say, listen, here it is. This is my target market. This is the process that we go through, and here's what we're going to do afterwards. And if I need to bring in people who can help in certain areas, that's what we're going to do. And so it's like, really, like, okay, like, so what about that? And what about that? And what about that? I was like, listen, this is my target market. This is the process. And here's what they can expect on the back end. But what about this? And what about that? And so it was just a lot. He was throwing he was trying to, he couldn't believe it was it was such a 1, 2, 3 simplistic approach. And the reason why he couldn't believe it was early on was because he recognized that if this is really the way to create the greatest revenue for the firm. It's like, why haven't we been doing this kind of thing? He's like, okay, why haven't we been doing this the whole time? If this process, he's looking at it, he's staring at it, he's looking at the proposal, he's literally saying, okay, wait, I got to poke as many holes in this thing as I can, because if there aren't any holes, why in God's name have we not been doing this? And I say all that to say, it doesn't have to be complicated. It does not have to be complicated. It does not have to be so difficult for us to get into a rhythm of goal setting, to get into a rhythm of success. It's just recognizing what it is you truly want. And I go back to that first point. And I'm speaking about this from a business perspective, saying finding my target market, but that's equivalent to when I say finding my target market, to the person who's saying, hey man, I just want to lose 50 pounds within the next 12 months, or I want to lose whatever. My target market, and that person says they want to lose 50 pounds, is what am I working on every day? So my target market is, I know who I'm talking to. I know who I'm picking up the phone and calling. I know who I'm going to go see. I know the type of people that would love, if they knew about what I have, if they knew about it, they would say, yes, I want in. If they knew, but they just haven't heard it yet. And so from the standpoint of the person who wants to lose the weight, and you figured it out, you say, you know what, I know how to do this now. And you just go do that thing. You just go do the thing, but you have to get you have to get that information. And you've seen you've kind of gotten a situation where you understand that this is the process. So your step one is go to the source, go to the main thing, eat the crust first, do the difficult thing first. And that's like, for instance, going back to the guy in my office, the difficult thing first is going to the target market. And and there's some people who are just, they don't have that skill set, if you will. They know how to, if the target market comes to them, they're great. They know how to do the work. They're masters at doing the work, but they don't have the skill set to go and bring the target market to them. And that's the part that where so many in our field, where eating the crust first means go straight to the CEO, go straight to the guy who owns the business, go straight to the board of trustees, go straight to the folks who fund the business, that kind of thing. And they're like, oh, it clam up when it's time to do that. That's the difficult work in our business. So we have to identify what's the difficult work. What's the thing that nobody else wants to do? Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. That's the first step in your 1, 2, 3 system. And as Paz said earlier, if you get comfortable doing the uncomfortable things, you're so much ahead of the average person at that point, because most people, they're going to fight like everything to not do the difficult thing first, or to avoid and tap dance around that difficult thing. So, number one, do the difficult thing first. Number two, have a process that will allow you to create repetition. And number three, do the process. So you got to create a process and when I say the process, like if, for instance, we're going back to healthy living, the process is, you got a bunch of greens in the house. You got a bunch of lean meat in the house. You got, clean water and healthy drink in your house. That means that you've replaced it. You replaced whatever was in there before with all the good stuff. And then the process is eat it. Eat this on Monday, eat this on Tuesday, eat this on Wednesday. You're doing the work. And the next part is just keep doing it and do that over and over and over again. And so, but I wanted to just take some time to talk about the system. And like the song says, don't disturb this groove. Like once you get into that groove, it's like people are going to try to poke holes in it. And the reason why, as I said earlier, the reason why people are going to try to poke holes in it is because it's like, is this too good to be true? Because you're making it sound easy. You're making it sound easy. And I know it's not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Right. And so, but when you get into that system, you get to the place where you are doing the uncomfortable stuff. You get comfortable doing the uncomfortable stuff. You get into a rhythm. And as Paz mentioned, you get into a place where that repetition helps it become comfortable. And then your subconscious says, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with this. You've been doing it enough. I don't know why we should be fearful of you continuing to do this. I'm cool with this. I'm going to digest what you're doing as something that we do. And once that's the case, then now you're on a paradigm shift, because you've now pretty much removed the things that were a part of your old comfort zone. And now your subconscious has said, we are willing and ready to accept this new lifestyle that you're working on here. These new things that you're doing. Hey, I'm game. It sounds good. I'm feeling better. I'm not afraid to do this anymore, because our subconscious is afraid of new stuff. Because the subconscious is here to protect you from how you're wired. We're wired a certain way, and our subconscious is here to protect that wiring, that way we process our behaviors, our fears, what we accept and what we reject. And so when you start on this path of bringing something new to your subconscious, it's going to be hard early on, because your subconscious is trying to protect your current you. That's the objective. Subconscious says, I got to protect what we do. And you're trying to tell the subconscious, we're about to do something different. Here's why. And you're making those steps every day to prove, I'm saying, like, awesome. So you're trying to prove to yourself. What you're really doing is proving it to your subconscious to say, there's no need to be fearful here. There's no need to be afraid to accept this. This is going to help us. This is going to help our future. This is going to be a great thing for us. Let's go. Let's create the paradigm shift. Let's make it happen, right? And so it is an internal, conversation, if you will. It's a very interpersonal type communication that you have to go through when you're trying to introduce something new into your lifestyle. But when you are fired up about the goal, and you got all the reasons to back it up, to say, this is why I'm fired up. This is why we got to do this. I have to do this. You got all the reasons. You can lay on reason after reason after reason after reason as to why this is so important. Your subconscious will accept it. That's just, for some people, it may happen sooner than others. Based on, like we're talking about, based on our foundation and how we receive information and that kind of thing. But when you keep going at it every day, subconscious gives up at some point, and either will say, I give up, you running the show, or we'll just say, got it, let's go. This is who we are. Let's move forward with this. So anybody have any questions or comments? I know we kind of laid out a lot, and I promised you guys that this was going to be a short call, and we're almost at 2 hours. So, but it's important, especially in this particular month. So let's open up the call now. Anybody have any questions or comments on the topic today? Hey, hey.
Hey, it's Bonnie. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Good morning. What's up?
I want to say the past, he hit it dead on the head. It's when you are ready to get going, or just as you're ready to start moving, so all kind of craziness happens. And somehow I get lost in the craziness. So I need words or direction or processes to show me how to get past when all the craziness happens, because it happens every single time. Every single time. So tell me what part of the system what tools from the system I can utilize to get past the crazy.
Paz, you're on there?
Oh, I didn't know if that was a deep question or listen, man. Protocols around here, I would say the first thing is, and the first thing is the main thing, and I'm pretty sure Dean would agree with this, is recognizing that what's happening once you set the goal, you put the time out, right? You say, all right, I'm about to do this. So you recognize that the reason why all this stuff is happening is because you have set out on this new journey, right? So it's almost like the animal kingdom, they'll like some of those birds, or like there's like all kinds of, like maybe a lizard or something like that. When danger comes, it creates like they can make it like a big tail or something that kind of makes it look bigger than it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that. It's like your paradigm knows that you're getting ready to do this, so it'll do anything it can, knowing you, because it knows you, it lives with you, it is you, right? Knowing you, it will, send out stuff to the universe either to draw in the foolishness, or it'll actually do things that it can do to make sure that you do not try or attempt to go after this shit in your life.
Yeah.
And the first thing is to recognize that. So, if you are, let's say you are, this thing that's trying to eat this bird, and you see the bird, and then all of a sudden the bird his tail gets big, and it looks like this big bird that you're not used to eating. You need to recognize, this got his feathers up. I'm about to gobble him. You understand step one. And then you attack it the same way as if. And attacking it the same way as if. I mean, you still got to deal with stuff that happens, but you said it the best. I think that's the key. That's what your paradigm knows. It knows that you'll get lost in the stuff, and then eventually you'll fall back into that original habit that you were trying to break in the first place. So you got to deal with the stuff, but you still take those little incremental steps to make sure that you're at least going after the goal. And see, when you said make it simple, I'm like, man, that's exactly the opposite of what I do. I'm like, I love things to be super complicated. Like, it makes me feel good. Like, hey, man, I'll read a book. I got a book like this. You read old self-help books. I got a blank book next to it. And, like, be drawing, like, little formulas. Well, plus, or positive plus, and fact equals this. And when you just open up the book, you're like, this is brother. What is he doing? What is he doing? Mathematics or something? He's doing some kind of formula? Which, it makes me feel good to do that. I guess that's kind of the way my brain works, but it's not always simple. And to answer Bonnie, the second part is, I think that if our systems are simple, it makes it easier to continue through. I'm talking about the lead person. It will make it easier to continue on the challenge that we're going after, because it is simple. But when it's too complicated or too many things happening, that allows it. It's just logical to shut it down. Like, I got all this complicated stuff happening that I want to do, and I have these complicated things that's happening, challenges that's popping up in my life that require attention right now. So logically, I can't do all this complicated stuff right now. It's just the goal complicated stuff. I just can't do it. I gotta sit it down so that I can focus on these other complications and these other challenges that popped up. So when that happens, I mean, logic just says do it. And then you wind up just not going back to the thing and stuff. They wind up stuck you on the shelf. But if there's something simple for the goal, the way you were describing these 1, 2, 3, you say, okay, first of all, I see you popping up. I see this happening. Okay, crazy stuff is happening. I got it. All right, I'm going to work on that. But I know I got to do just one step. Because one step is a simple thing that I can do. And then I'll start on 2. And then what will happen is you'll solve those problems because you're great at solving the problems. You'll solve those issues that come up. But you'll already have 1 done. You'll be working on 2, and you'll be working on 3 while you're solving those complicated problems. And then they'll fall away. They'll dissipate. And then you can really jump on the goal stuff. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense.
Yeah. So that having that
breaking it down to the simplest form. What do I have to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And having that system in place is, man, you hit me on the net. You hit on the head today, Steve. I'm like, damn, I be so complicated for no reason. Because it makes you feel good. It boosts up your ego. You know, like, I did this complicated thing that, you know, you think nobody else can do or whatever. You know, but you feel like, yeah, wow, I did this complicated thing. I'm really smart. You know, meanwhile, you outsmart yourself.
Yeah.
You get that.
But see the thing, and like for people like Paz was a Rubik's Cube guy, you know, like, okay, watch this. I'm about to show you how I can beat the Rubik's Cube, you know, and when your brain thinks like that, then you really embody. You know, it's the situation of when your brain thinks that like that. You're like, whoa. I know this may be craziness, and it may be a little off of what I was working on, but watch me go fix this thing real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Now you're in there. You know, it's like watch me go fix it. And when your brain is just kind of, you have to know yourself to say that's what your tendency is to do. That is to watch me go fix it. And the first question you have to ask yourself,
hit me in the head. That's exactly what happened. Because I have prided myself on being a fixer.
Yeah.
I literally just told somebody, if you want it done,
Bonnie is Olivia Pope.
Bonnie is Olivia Pope.
I had to jump in real quick. Bonnie is the Olivia Pope of the Beast family, and Maria is the Olivia Pope of the Campbell family.
Mm-hmm.
So we're fixing. And when it comes to being a fixer, when your stuff is a mess, who's the fixer? Yeah, still you. But you still being the Olivia Pope for everybody else's mess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's simplifying. 1, you can't be everybody's fixer.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, simplifying your process steps of being the fixer of your complicated issues or mess or whatever you want to call it, challenges, simplifying those steps. But Bonnie, I'm right there with you. Taz, I'm right there with you. Like when you have this goal of, okay, I want to do this by this. And then all of these things come tumbling down. I am one. I'm going to tell y'all, this is why I probably haven't done a 90-day challenge in a couple of years. I will retreat in 5 seconds because the amount of things that come tumbling down at one time for me, it wipes me out.
Mm-hmm.
So I just retreat and I say, okay, I'm just going to focus on what I know I can do because that's my comfort zone and still be a fixer, and I'm going to get back to myself one day. But it's time, we're at that time now where we have to do this for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking this out loud because I have to speak it out loud to hear myself say it and then put myself in the driver's seat and say, Maria, it's time for you to do this for yourself.
Mm.
And I have in some aspects of my life, and some people know that, but then there are other aspects of life that I know I still need to do these things. So again, speaking it out loud,
So I get there, so I can process it, and then that's laying the groundwork. And now, okay, now you need to write it out, and now you need to start taking the steps to meet that.
Yep.
Sorry, I wasn't planning on talking today.
No, that was good.
I'm digesting, receiving, and just processing, and I had to just come in because Bonnie, I know you're Olivia Pope. I see you in action. Listen, gladiators, mount up. Let's go. That's what we do. Oh, you are so right. I need Olivia Pope in my life. Listen, when you find her, send her my way. Clone her and send her my way.
Well, I mean, but you know, the truth is, so this is the big takeaway for this is it's simplicity time. Simplicity and process. And Bonnie, to your point, you know, when all these crazy stuff start jumping up, and you clearly looking at it, and you can clearly say, why? What did this happen? Okay, as soon as you get ready to say dive in and start working on that other thing, you have to remind yourself, and more, I would say, ask yourself, what does this thing have to do with my goal? And this is part of the simplicity process. You know, what does that I'm looking at over there have to do with this goal that I actually have told myself I'm going to focus on it and accomplish and make and realize in my life? And that's the question. And if it does not fit, you know, if you can't make that thing over there that's trying to get your attention and trying to distract you make sense to how it's going to add value to you accomplishing this goal you've set, it's something those are the ones I say, God, handle that. That's what I do in that situation. I see it coming. I'm like, okay, God, that's for you. I got to stay focused. I'm over here. And they're like, oh, you're not going to pay no attention to it? No, because I have to focus on the goal. I have to focus on the goal. If I get way over here and get listen, as I told y'all before, my eyes will start drying up. All of everything will start shaking in my life. It will start going crazy. I was like, God, I hear you, but I need to spend some more time over there. And in my eye, I can't blink in my eyes the whole time trying to get some lubrication. And it goes back to having that daily communication with God to say, where am I? I'm working, I'm doing your will, I'm working, I'm doing what you told me to do, but where am I? Am I making progress? And keep working, keep going toward that thing, that goal. I'm just making sure that goal is really, inspiration-led, is a creator-driven type thing that you're working on. And that's the way the communication happens, because you're trying to measure your progress. And so to be able to measure your progress, you have to communicate with the creator to say, how am I doing? Am I making progress? Do you feel better? Are you not as scatterbrained? That's, for me, that's one area where I can see progress if I'm not as scatterbrained. If there are a lot of things going on, but for some type of reason, this goes back to this conversation I had yesterday with my coworker. We literally probably talked about 10 to 15 different services, if you will, and on the surface that seems like a lot. Like, okay, well, what about this? Who's going to do that? What's the process there? But to be able to package it in a way that's under a 3-step process, for me, that was the simplicity. If I'm spending all my time thinking about each of the 15 things, then I hadn't simplified the process yet, and the timeline of the process, and so what we're really talking about now is simplification through process. And that means, you got 100 things to do, but you're going to address the first 10 within the next month. The first 10 things on that, you prioritize those 100 things, and you say the first 10 we're going to handle in this first month. And then the next 10 we'll handle the next month. And we'll be able to measure how well we did with those 10 things to help us prepare. Because it could be the case where we get to the second month and say, you know what, we probably should only do 5 this month. Based on what we saw this past month, we're probably going to be able to address 5 this month in the second month. But at the end of the day, that's still progress. That's 15 in 2 months, you know. And then you've learned some things in those 2 months. And then that third month, you're able to get 12 done because you're learning and you're progressing. You're seeing progress happen. But it's because you simplified it and said, I can't do all of this right now, but I can eat this elephant bite by bite. I can eat it, but but it's going to take a couple bites, and the next bite may be slower than the first one, and so that's the whole thing, to be able to see, if you see clutter everywhere in your life in so many different realms, if you will, how do you bring it, organize it, and say, we're going to knock this out by bite by bite on a timeline. And so if you're at a point, you can measure your progress by saying, how do I feel? Like, do I have clarity of thought? That's the one prayer I have every day. Give me clarity of thought. So when I see something in my mind, I can speak it back out in a way that makes sense to me, and hopefully it makes sense to the person I'm talking to. If I have so much going on in my brain and I can't communicate it, then I don't have clarity of thought yet. There are a lot of things happening, but it's not clear, and so I want to kind of end up on this, and this is a big part of this system. And again, this is a way I try to create some level of a system that is simplistic. I try to look at things from a mind, body, and soul perspective, mind, body, and spirit. And so especially when things get really, and we still have our goal, we still are measuring our progress, we understand the work, we're going after it every day, we're going into the fight, right? We're literally doing the work to try to get closer to our goal. But the truth is, we physically, emotionally, have to deal with the reality of where we are. Sometimes we feel anxious, sometimes we feel bad, sometimes we're putting out negative energy, and so you have to always assess what you're putting out. You don't want to be so immersed in trying to fix something that you don't realize that the energy you're putting out is affecting other people. That is reaching that's actually negatively affecting the people who are around you. So you want to always assess that. And so, going back to these mind tricks, that brother said I had a Jedi mind trick is, it's I'm trying to think of the word, but it's basically you have to, from a mind perspective, it's like feeding those 3 areas. What am I doing today to feed my mind? What am I doing today to feed my body? What am I doing today to feed my spirit? That is, so that has to be a part of the system. Feeding it good stuff. Like, what am I feeding good to my mind today? And what is my regiment to do it every day? What am I feeding good to my body today? And what is my regiment to feeding that every day? What am I feeding good to my spirit today? And what is my regiment every day? And so we have to, at least, now granted, in a perfect world, every day we do that. We give good information to our mind, things that inspires us, things that helps us raise the bar, things that helps us to become a bit more knowledgeable, tap into, like, for instance, for me, I like to, when I'm talking about like feeding my mind, I like to get access to people who I identify as mentors. So I try to, what is it going to take to get access to them, to get some information that I know I need, get an insight that I definitely need. I don't know if I need it right now, but I'm going to need it at some point in the future. And, and just do by any means necessary to get access to that information, and so going back to eating the crust first, a couple of years ago, I made the decision that not only do I need mentors, but I also need, successful clients who could really help me get to the next level. So I'm like, all right, I want my successful clients to become my mentors. How do you do that, right? You go and bring whatever you got to bring to the table, and you go right to those people and say, I want to do business with you. And before you know it, they don't realize that I see them as a mentor, but then they're now my client, right? I just said, let's go and let's eat the crust first and go directly to the source, who I think I could learn from and get guidance from. Literally just had a meeting the other day, and I'm going through my strategy for the meeting and all that. We checked all those boxes, and the next 30 minutes of that meeting, it was just pure mentor-mentee conversations. Just me just feeding and getting that information, like, just taking it all in. And I walked away from that meeting like, check, that was good. That was a healthy meeting. I grew from that meeting. And so again, going back to this whole process of how do we create a system that's helping us not only to pursue our goals, but to pursue our goals in a healthy way, that we're addressing our mind, body, and spirit in the process, and making sure that we're keeping our minds clear so we can address the difficult stuff and all the ranges of craziness that could definitely happen. But two, to feel good while you're doing it, and still be in a position to pump out and to have something for somebody else, so to be able to pump out positive energy. So it sounds like a lot, and it's not something that you're gonna overnight accomplish, but this is literally something it's worth pursuing. Let me say it that way. It's worth pursuing, to come up with your regimen that you're working on every day to address your mind, body, and spirit, to feed those areas of your life, and just get into that process of learning new things, start creating a new habit. Your subconscious will say, hey, I like this, or whoa, what are you doing? Should we be doing this? I see you doing it. We used to do that over there. You used to do that. Why aren't we doing that anymore? And that, then when your subconscious pushes back, you have to assess, how do you feel about the pushback? Don't give up, just assess. Assess can be a pause. That's cool. Assess can be a pause and just saying, okay, let me slow down a second. Let me slow down. That's cool. You're not jumping off the wagon, right? You're just saying, okay, how do I address the fact that I'm starting to feel bad about doing this thing every day, doing this new thing every day? How should I feel about that? But the most important thing, Bonnie and Maria and Paz and anybody else who easily finds themselves focused on things that's away from the goal, is the mindset has to be about this goal. And the goal has to be so important to you that you won't allow yourself to get distracted. It's just too important. It's just too important to you to allow distractions to get in the way. Now, here's the thing. Distractions could be, like, it's one thing for me to say the word distraction, but the other part, the fact is, distractions are loved ones and coworkers and important people, right? So that's the reality of distractions, because if it was just some random people, you wouldn't care, right? You wouldn't even care that somebody tried to get in your attention. But this distractions are coming from loved ones, people that you actually care about. Even with that, the goal is more important. The goal is more important. And so you just have to stay committed to the goal. So I'm saying it in a very simplistic way, but I know the reality of it is it requires a lot of work. It requires process and trying to organize your thoughts, your activities, how you react to when issues pop up and that kind of thing. But at least mapping out the system, because that's the thing you can always go back to is, how do I eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So at least when things get crazy, you at least have a system you can come back to. Write it down. Just like like I was saying, the one thing that was the big clarifying moment yesterday in that meeting was I saw him. His brain was going all over the place. He was like, "Oh no, what about this? What about that?" I said, "Hey, come here for a second. So look at this proposal," and just looked at it from one outline to the next, and all the things that were scattered in his mind was listed in an organized way, step by step by step, just to alleviate the clutter. Clutter gone. Process is now the main thing because we see it now. We literally see. So you have to document it, write it down. You're going to have different drafts. If you look at this book. This book right here I got here is full of pages of rough drafts. It's a whole bunch. When I look back at this, I see processes that I started, of trying to organize. And then there was a couple pages later, there's another version that actually looks a lot better than that one before, but it has some new stuff. But it's just the documentation of taking things that are in your mind that are important and putting it on paper, and at least puts you in that process of creating. That's a win. When you get a pen, when you take a pen and you get a piece of paper and you write stuff that's on your mind that you want to see happen, and you begin to, do it in an outline form, number one, phase one, here's the priority. Step one, this. And here's an activity of that step one. Here's a subset of the step one. Step two, that. Here's a priority of that. Here's a subset of that, and just really having it and writing it down. You say, okay, cool. And then you come back a couple of weeks later, a couple of days later, and say, okay, no, I learned some new stuff. We got a new thing to add in step one, and so it's a very intentional thing that we just have to do. And that's part of creating new habits, because again, old habits won't help you accomplish new goals. The old habits want to help you. The old habits don't have the experience. It hadn't experienced it yet. The things that's necessary to accomplish new goals. So you have to create new habits. And I said, well, how do I find what habit should I be figuring out? Well, let's unpack the goal. Let's really unpack the goal. What is this goal and why? What is the goal and why? Who else has done it before? Who's done something similar to it? Like, we got to beef up the goal for it to even matter. Because if you don't beef up the goal, it's not going to take precedence over what's really going on in your life right now. Your subconscious will tell you, no, we got other stuff to do. No, you can't do it. You can't do it. I'm going to throw everything in your way for you to not do this, because that goal is not big enough. It's not important enough to start working for me to be okay with you working on this. So it has to be for real, so that's my thought. That's definitely the process that I've used, but this is worth it. And that's my big point, is that this is worth it. And, and I'm game to go through kind of one-on-one on this kind of stuff, because in relative to this part of the goal, this is where the iron, the hot part, or whatever, the iron meets the fire, whatever the case. The doing phase is when it really gets rough. So, it was worth, and we'll have another call before the end of this, because we're going to definitely do another call. It won't be in 2 weeks, it'll probably be in 3 weeks, but we're going to definitely do another call before the end of August, because this is super important for this challenge and this effort to even really mean something. We have to come back to it. So let's open up the call. Anybody have any questions, comments before we finish up today? It is 9:06, so I do apologize. I told you this is going to be a quick call, and it is not. So let's open up the call. Anybody have any questions or comments?
God, they should call, man. Good talk. Thank you. A lot of things more clear now.
All right. Let's rock and roll on this. This is it's summertime. It's hot. This is it, But it's so worth it. It's so worth it, man. I mean, I can't even begin to highlight how worth it is to be at peace with your process, and to know that you're working on something that truly matters to you. Nobody else. This is not about anybody else. This is about you and your creator.